Fraud Squad Director says over 1 billion kina lost through official corruption. Criminal attacks halt Madang hospital service. And National Road Safety Council cautions PMV operators to comply.
This is National MTV News with Mary Bartolo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Friday's news. Fraud Squad Director Matthew Damaru says over 1 billion kina of public money is lost through official corruption. This is the estimated figure from complaints registered with the Fraud Squad office in 2016. Damaru made these comments while delivering the keynote address at Transparency International's relaunch of their corruption complaints desk.
This signified the official relaunch of Transparency International's Advocacy and Legal Advice Center.
ALAC does is receive corruption complaints,
As the keynote speaker, Damaru spoke about the work of the Fraud Squad and the trends that they have noticed over the years.
Some 10, 15 years ago, we were dealing with cases like misappropriation, false pretense, conspiracy to defraud. These are the basic fraud, corruption, cases. But over the last 4 years, the trend has changed, and we now see a new rising trend in that there's a lot more complaints of official corruption and abuse of office. People in authority using the power, using the office to get what they want, and subordinates knowing it's not right, they carry out orders because it's their job on the line. If they don't, they find themselves walking the streets. So it's a very, very frightening situation.
He said complainants of corruption, especially public servants, are caught in a dilemma because there is no law to protect whistleblowers.
Very few people come and complain, and usually this is after. These are public servants. After they have been suspended, then they come to Fraud Squad to report. But before that, prior to that, nobody's prepared to open their mouth to say this is happening in the department because they fear.
Also there to witness the launch was Mineral Resource Authority CEO Philip Sama. He is keen to work with TIPNG to ensure complaints against the mining industry are processed through an independent body.
I'd be very happy to, once we can appreciate how you will function, we'd like to engage substantively in actually diverting all the complaints about our business, about MRA as a public institution, about the MD of MRA, about my chairman, don't go to the minister, about other things, and also in terms of how the exploration companies and the complaints that people have on the ground and the mining companies and their conduct. I'd like it to be channeled to something like ALAC, and so that it's totally independent of MRA.
While this will be something that will still require a lot more discussion, people who would like to contact the center for any advice on how to report a corrupt act can do so using these toll-free numbers 1-800-6000 and 7601-4336. Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
Modilon General Hospital workers, including medical officers, had to stop work for several hours yesterday following 2 separate criminal attacks on hospital staff. Hospital vehicles were held up and staff robbed.
At 10 a.m. yesterday, 400 workers of the Madang Hospital gathered to meet with the hospital management and board members. The meeting was to discuss serious security issues affecting the hospital operation, as this week's incidents were not the first that had occurred. Security concerns at the hospital is an ongoing problem the hospital has been facing.
The security at present seem to be turning a blind eye, and so I think that's some of the issues that's causing frustration.
Hospital CEO Christine Gawi says all this came about after a group of men jumped over the hospital fence with bush knives going around in the hospital premises on Tuesday.
The community, several people jumped over our fence and with bush knives going around. We were still dealing with that, and then this has happened last night. So we don't know if there's any link with this. But yeah, I'm still to get the entire story. The only thing I've heard is that our vehicle was stopped and at gunpoint.
But it's not the only problem. They say other hospital equipment and patient valuables left in the wards have been reported stolen. From this gathering, a committee will be formed to find solutions to help prevent them from being harassed or held up by criminals. Some of the recommendations that will include
definitely security issues. Number one, we'll see the current security we've on the ground and we'll see how to deal with this. The others, the fence has about 4 gates or 5 gates. We'll have to just see how we can operate with only 2 gates. It's a little bit difficult because we have the provincial health office within this campus and they reside at the top and they need to use their gate as well. So it's all right. We'll probably work out something. We've asked the staff to come up with a committee so they can work with the management to put a strategy in place.
Matalubis, National EMTV News, Madang.
The Police Traffic Directorate is preparing cyclists to conduct special escorts for world leaders during the 2018 APEC summit that Papua New Guinea will host. Today, it graduated the first 6 police motorcyclists who will play important roles in traffic coordination during the summit. The training was jointly facilitated by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary and the Australian Federal Police.
These officers have undergone 3 weeks of training on the different motorcades which will be used during special operations. Program Manager Inspector Michael Smith from the Australian Federal Police explains that there are 3 different motorcades the cyclists will be escorting. Inspector Smith says different motorcades will be used for different levels of delegations.
The program is a 3-week course. It basically includes 2 weeks of rider skill enhancement, then a week of practical scenarios including motorcade operations.
This is the first training for cyclists, and our PNGC and AFP are hoping to train at least 80 cyclists. 5 similar trainings will be conducted in the coming months. The Traffic Directorate is responsible for the safe movement of over 21 world leaders who will be attending the APEC summit in 2018. Thus, the Directorate is training these officers to ensure safe escorts for the leaders come 2018.
We will be busy leading up to APEC, but as I said, the public will see more and more of the police motorcycles moving around.
Following the training, the Australian government will purchase 26 new motorcycles for the Traffic Directorate. Since 2015, the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, in partnership with the Australian Federal Police, have been conducting training in preparation for the summit. Most of the training the police personnel are undergoing is new to the constabulary, and the police hierarchy is grateful for the continuous support provided by the Australian government. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The National Road Safety Council has cautioned PMV operators across Papua New Guinea to obtain temporary PMV hire permits through their respective land transport offices during the election period. Chief Executive Officer Nelson Terama says this will legally warrant PMVs to be available for hire and limit the number of road traffic accidents which result in death.
Speaking to the media this morning in Port Moresby, National Road Safety Council Chief Executive Officer Nelson Terama responded to complaints from the general public and PMV passengers regarding the number of PMVs being hired out by candidates.
RTA issue licenses purposely to service those routes, and when these PMVs are being hired out, general public is sitting waiting for PMVs, especially at the bus stops. So we would like to warn the PMV operators that they have to mind that the licenses are being issued to carry out a specific task, which is to service those particular routes, not only in NCDC, but it happens right throughout the country.
He cautioned that under the Transport Act, any PMV on hire without hire permit is illegal, and PMV operators should refrain from charging extra fares.
The fares has already been approved by ICCC and the board, so they have to, make sure maintain that fees and fines are approved by the board and ICCC. If they see that they want to take advantage of the situation and what they're doing is all illegal, therefore, when we introduce this permit, we can control from here that enough buses to service those routes.
Terema urged PMV operators throughout Papua New Guinea to obtain hire permits before leasing their PMVs for hire.
So our enforcement unit will basically monitor the situation, and if we happen to see some PMVs after this media conference, our enforcement unit will be on the road monitoring the situation, and if we see some PMVs being hired out, and then we will deal with those operators.
He also warned PMV operators, candidates and supporters to follow road safety rules while campaigning to avoid traffic accidents. PMV operators from other centers should visit their respective provincial transport offices to obtain their permits. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
The Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary concluded its final election training for all police bosses in the Highlands region in Mount Hagen. The closing also coincided with RPNGC's 129th anniversary of policing in Papua New Guinea. Deputy Divisional Commander of Eastern Command, Chief Superintendent Jimmy Onopia, urged policemen to reflect on what the RPNGC has contributed to the country.
The course participants were police station commanders and officers in charge of each divisions and units of RPNGC in the 7 Highlands provinces. They were given insights into election security, police code of conduct during the election, and know how to uphold electoral integrity and security. Deputy Eastern Command Commander Chief Superintendent Jimmy Onopia concluded the 5 days training today in Mount Hagen. Despite shortfall of funding this election, Onopia urged police to ensure the 2017 national election is free and fair.
In this particular election, the later 2017 elections, we are underfunded, we lack resources, we're trying our best, but nevertheless, that doesn't mean that we are discouraged. We are prepared to take the challenge head on.
Today also marks the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary's 129th anniversary of maintaining law and order in the country. Onopia said RPNGC has contributed a lot to PNG in terms of security and law and order, and have also seen changes on how election has been conducted. He said campaigning have changed from a free and fair election to influencing and intimidating voters. Onopia challenged the police personnel to work together to make this election a successful one.
We've seen the country come for the last 40 years, and we've been through it all. This time we will have to make a change for Papua New Guinea. It's not for us only, it's for our children and our children's children. We have to make a difference here. We have to conduct a safe, fair and free elections.
The course participants will return to their respective police stations and impart this knowledge to their colleagues. This course has introduced them to the greater insight of what is expected for them in this year's election. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
You're watching National EMTV News. Election 2017 campaigns for People's National Congress, People's Progress Party and The Party. Those stories, among others, in our election coverage after these messages. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Hundreds of Sepuka Temu supporters showed up at the launch of his campaign on the Aroma Coast yesterday. Sepuka, the sitting member for Abau Open and PNC candidate, hosted his first rally at Maupa 2 village. He is defending the seat against 24 others, including former MP Kilroy Genia. He called on his supporters not to attack other candidates.
Hundreds of supporters from Aroma, Amazon Bay and Cloudy Bay LLGs flooded in with garden food, betel nut mats and pigs to present to the sitting member for Abao, said Dr. Pukatemu, as a token of their appreciation for his 5 years in office. Dr. Temu arrived and the campaign launch began with the Vanu traditional dancers escorting the sitting member around the field for him to greet his supporters. The hosting family had to feed the hundreds who arrived and the invited guests. One can imagine the amount of time and firewood needed to cook. The vice president of Aroma LLG told the sitting member that he would retain his seat for the 4th time.
Board and ward members of Aroma Rural Local Level Government, I as the Vice President wish you luck in your campaign. And within the next 2 months or so, we will call you our sitting member again.
Former member for Abao in the 80s, Greg Pepena, told the supporters of Ser Puka to not listen to other candidates when they come around and say the sitting member has done nothing for Abao.
If they are manipulated by other parties, I tell you, the party leaders are jealous of Prime Minister using our member, using his head, and they know exactly what's coming on.
Meanwhile, said Dr. Pukatemu, who is running under the PNC banner, said that the people should not attack or chase off candidates, but to allow them to speak because it was their constitutional right to run for elections.
You just listen, because we also want to know the criticism too, because we are going to win. We want to bring in the criticism, move it into our policy, and we move the best program ever delivered for the next 5 years.
He also defended himself from the accusations by other candidates, saying that there is so much a candidate can do in his district, and he also was a part of the nation's building.
Well, I have demonstrated to you in front of the media that I have the ability to be recognized as the national leader, and I have been. I also have the ability to save you right at the grassroots level.
Ser Puka also told his supporters the reason why he moved to PNC.
With 110% confidence that I have never seen a government that has delivered at the pace under which our Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and his government has led.
The supporters of Ser Puka then presented 1 kina for each 1 vote he would get. A total of 5,000 kina was given to Ser Puka and will most likely be in his calculations for his base vote. Adelaide Sirok's Kari, National EMTV News.
Opposition leader Don Pollier is on the campaign trail, with Mosby South the first electorate to visit. The sitting Kandep MP accompanied the party candidate Samson Kirilio yesterday for a rally at the Kaugera Oval. Pollier's campaign message: elect leaders to fight corruption.
Hundreds gathered at Kaugera Oval to witness the start of the party's campaign trail. The opposition leader was greeted by a swarm of people as he made his way to the grandstand. Pollier's presence was to back his candidate Samson Kirilio. Pollier's speech was more interactive with the audience. His emphasis: elect leaders to stop corruption.
Leadership will be able to stand up on what is right and fight against what is wrong. Leaders will stand up and say that is corruption, call it by its name, and promote what is good to save the people of Papua New Guinea.
Samson Kirilio is a first-time contender in the national elections, but he says if people believe in his leadership, he will represent the people on the floor of Parliament to resolve issues affecting Mosby South people and push the agenda of curbing corrupt practices in the public sector.
You will less long corrupt leaders. Corrupt leaders emulate. You will let more people got outlaw man.
Opposition stronghold and sitting Kikori MP Mark Maipakai said he is confident of new leaders joining the party to help redirect leadership in the country.
Don't make a mistake in this election. I want this man to be in parliament tomorrow with me to support me with our policies.
The opposition leader will be visiting provinces in the next 3 weeks to campaign for the party candidates. Jack Lopave, Junior National, EMTV News.
The only female candidate for Mosby South also held a rally at Calgary yesterday afternoon. Daughter of former Prime Minister Sir William Skate rallied amidst a rowdy crowd. People's Progress Party leader Ben Micah attended this rally.
Anna Skate was in Calgary yesterday, her late father's home. She was given the appropriate welcome. She was accompanied by family members and supporters to the stage. People's Progress Party parliamentary leader Ben Micah spoke at the rally. He says PPP will make Motu Koitabu a district and create ministries for urban development and village development.
That the answer only comes from the people of Paimuru and the people from Motu Koitabu.
Ben Micah spoke amidst a rowdy few in the crowd. Peace and Good Order Committee members were quick to contain a potential spillover.
I am the only woman candidate running in the...
Anna Skate then talked to the people.
You can call me here, call me there, I will be there. My father walked up and down these streets. My father grew up in this settlement. My father served this country with pride because he was by Muro.
Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
An intending candidate in Port Moresby is calling for a free and fair election as campaign commences. John Kaupa, who is contesting the Moresby North East seat, says the 2012 election had many issues, with most taken to the courts. Kaupa says the mistakes of 2012 must not be repeated this year.
Kaupa was surrounded by his supporters yesterday at the 6 Mile Market when expressing his concern for the Northeast electorate. John Kaupa, who has contested for the same seat in the past 2 national elections, says the Electoral Commission must play its responsibilities so people are voted the right way.
You mean like in this election, they must free and fair without any intimidation by anybody. Because election, people will come. And this election is a deciding for our country to lead into another direction.
For this year's election, the Moresby North seat has the highest number of candidates contesting, with 51 candidates, including 6 women. Following the close of nominations last week, NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Ben Turi said Northeast electorate will be monitored closely following incidents in the 2012 national elections.
In the last election, we have a problem with notice. This time we are keeping a manpower. We will not allow anyone trying to cheat. Police will be out in numbers to make sure notice is safe this time and no more leftover or disagreement over boxes. Everything will be counted once and for all.
Chairman of Transparency International, Lawrence Stevens, says a free and fair election is essential in the whole election process.
We're selecting the people who are being put in charge of the affairs of Papua New Guinea. It is extremely important that they be selected fairly. So any manipulation of the electoral roll or any cheating or double voting, all of that damages the value of the vote overall.
Polling will begin on June 24th. Jack Lopave, Junior National, EMTV News.
East New Britain senior statesman Nakikus Konga has come out public, brushing off allegations of misappropriation laid against him by rival candidates. Konga voluntarily resigned from politics for personal reasons, and he says his resignation has sparked the allegations, which are not true. He will be contesting the East New Britain provincial seat under the People's Progress Party after almost 2 decades of absence from active politics. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
Nakikus Konga has come back from a 20 years of absence from politics to contest the high-profile seat in East New Britain province the governor's seat. The former Gazelle MP will be up against 19 other intending candidates who also want to be the governor.
Yes, it's a political thing.
Yesterday, he says he was not happy about other rival candidates who have accused him of misusing public money belonging to Gazelle district.
My conscience tells me that I never do anything wrong, and I resigned at my own accord.
Mr. Konga explained that he left the public office 20 years ago with no formal criminal charges. He says he resigned from public office for personal reasons, and his resignation was not directly related to the alleged misuse of district's funds.
So I resigned because I lost my brother and my father, my late father, brother and my late father. Now, after I came out, I was not being charged by anybody. The Ombudsman Commission, nor the police.
Konga has previously served as the finance minister in the 1997 caretaker government that replaced Sir Julius Chan's regime because of its involvement in the Bougainville Civil War. This year, he had put his hands up again to contest in the national elections. He said his intention to contest the East Nubitan's governor's seat is an obvious one, and that is to resolve political infighting amongst leaders in the province.
When the leaders continue to fight among themselves, they forget about the well-being and the welfare of the people. Leaders must be left alone there so they can run the affairs of what they've been mandated to.
Yesterday, he revealed that he is ready not only to contest in the election, but to sue people who continue defaming him over the alleged misappropriation that happened almost 20 years ago. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
The returning officers of the 9 districts in Morbe province say election campaigns are running peacefully in all districts. However, there are a few issues faced in Finchafen and TYCSE districts on election enrollment and campaign delays of candidates under political parties. Julie Badiwi-Owa with this report.
Finchafen District Returning Officer Essing Olam said most voters have missed out on the election enrollment. He said few candidates have signed a petition regarding the concern on the 28th of last month. 42 candidates nominated last week, including 2 women. Electoral Commission Manager for Morbe, Simon Soeke, said a supplementary role was part of the solution for the concern in Finchafen. However, an approval from the Commissioner of PNG Electoral Commission is still pending. Morbe has over 300 candidates contesting this national election.
We have a total of 329 candidates. Out of these are 329 and 15 Plameri, and 314 Plaulman.
And in TYCSE district, the returning officer, Ralph Ryan, says campaigns for candidates endorsed by political parties are delayed due to funding delays. Most candidates have returned to Ley after nominations last week to follow up on the funds promised by the parties. Julie Badui-Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.4117 Australian dollars, $0.2770 euro, and 34.26 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and coffee closed lower, cocoa closed higher, while copra closed the day unchanged. Palm oil closed the day unchanged, while crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 6 points lower, the ASX closed 38 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 39 points lower. Here with National EMTV News, among stories after the break, Britain's Prince Philip retires from official duties at the age of 95. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary will work closely with counterparts from Bougainville and New Zealand to implement the Community Auxiliary Police Program in the autonomous region of Bougainville. A monitoring evaluation committee has been created to provide strategic guidelines, while Police Commissioner Gary Baki thanked New Zealand for the assistance. Fabian Hakalit has this report from Buka.
This week, the Police Commissioner met with the New Zealand Police and discussed the Community Auxiliary Police Program's way forward.
So the RPNGC
does not have much visibility in terms of what the kind of program that is being run here, despite the fact that we are aware of the fact that the New Zealand government has been here and they've been helping Bougainville Police for some time in the development of a cap and auxiliary here, rearranged in such a way now that the RPNGC has visibility on it, let alone the fact that it also supporting the Bougainville Police in its development agenda in preparing itself to be adequately resourced.
The number of community police in Bougainville is larger than the regular police. Baki says, therefore, the police agenda to serve Bougainville in terms of law and order issues is covered in dual arrangements.
Because it's so successful in a sense, it's been supported by the New Zealand government, it creates this a position where we have to look at how can we adequately and simply transfer this back to the Bougainville government to take, the autonomous Bougainville government to take on. Now I'm happy to know that there are specific funding being made available and the responsibility is now being shifted away from the New Zealand to the ABG to look after this program. Now, in order for that to be successful, we have to look at the links between the community auxiliary program and the regular policing on Bougainville. So it comes under the control of the Chief of Bougainville Police.
Meanwhile, RPNGC is meeting with the Bougainville Police Service and the New Zealand Police sets the future direction in the absorbing of the community auxiliary police into the regular police. This will then provide a comprehensive policing arrangements preparing Bougainville for its referendum come 2019. In Buka, Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea-Australia partnership continues its focus on improving gender equality and ending family sexual violence in the country. A recent visit by anti-violence campaigner and 2015 Australian of the Year, Rosie Batty, was an opportunity to showcase some of the achievements of this partnership.
The PNG Australia partnership works across a number of sectors, including justice and gender. In the law and justice sector, Australia, in partnership with the Family and Sexual Violence Action Committee, is working to improve coordination of quality of services provided to survivors of violence.
We have to ensure that whatever is written in the laws, whatever is written in the systems, actually gets translated into physical, tangible systems on the ground, and they function. There's no point in speaking about these new regulations that we put in if there are no functioning referral systems and pathways.
A recent workshop brought together provincial police, state lawyers and other stakeholders. Australian High Commission Minister Councillor Rod Hilton said it's a safe and secure community that leads to economic development and onto society being able to realize its potential. So gender is a core economic issue.
We have been able to expand services to 40,000 women and children, survivors of domestic violence, who prior to those services being put in place had nowhere to go. That's 40,000 women and children that have been able to access services because of the partnership.
Ms. Betty, who was guest speaker at the workshop, commended participants for their passion and commitment to bring about change. She said family violence needed to be part of the conversations at schools, in the workplace, and at homes all over the world. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
To news abroad, Prince Philip is being honoured for his unwavering service after he decided to step away from official royal duties. For decades, he stood behind the Queen, at times breathing cheeky humour into otherwise stuffy formalities.
After the palace announced his retirement, Prince Philip was back on duty, but not for much longer. He was, as always, a couple of steps behind the Queen. A man who doesn't like making a fuss was clearly amused by all the attention.
I'm sorry, you're standing down. I'll stand up much.
The Duke will continue to appear at engagements like these until August. Among those there to wish the 95-year-old well, former Prime Minister John Howard.
I think everybody appreciates what a wonderful consort he is, and he'll continue in that way, and good luck to him.
A patron, president or member of nearly 800 organisations, he'll still support causes he's passionate about, but will no longer attend events in their aid. The palace said, in taking this decision, the Duke has the full support of the Queen, who will continue to carry out a full program of official events.
From his steadfast support for Her Majesty the Queen to his inspirational Duke of Edinburgh Awards, his contribution to our United Kingdom, the Commonwealth and the wider world will be of huge benefit to us all for years to come.
Outside Buckingham Palace, there was relief that rumours of ill health were unfounded and praise for the Queen Consort.
Obviously wish him well in his retirement, and we'll miss his japes and his gags.
He's never hesitated to speak his mind, but overall I think he's done a pretty good job.
In the course of his duties, the Duke has carried out more than 22,000 solo engagements, made nearly 5,500 speeches and countless gaffes.
Just said that I worked in a club. And then he asked, oh, what, a strip club?
He calls himself the world's most experienced plaque unveiler, but his most important role has been that of the Queen's supporter-in-chief. He will continue to be her strength and stay, but nearly 6 years after saying it's best to get out before reaching your sell-by date, he's finally taking his own advice.
Here with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is next. The Lewas shine in international cricket. We'll have the details when we return.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Lewas have done it again. The grand final match yesterday between Samoa and the CPL PNG Lewas for the T20 World Cup qualifiers was taken up by PNG once more. The Lewas gave the Samoans a painful beating of 6 wickets.
Another shot at the World Cup, another shot at bettering the last performance, and another shot at gaining one-day international status. Those were more than enough reasons for the Lewas to bring the 6-wicket win home yesterday in Sano, Japan against Samoa. With much anticipation of the decider yesterday, the PNG ladies knew losing was not an option. So when they took the crease, they played the cards well. Lewas won the toss through captain Pauke Siaka, but the decision to send Samoa into bat first was one that proved fruitful. The Samoans were immediately put under pressure through Ravini Owa and Sibona Jimmy, who cleared 2 wickets in just 3 overs. Ace Samoa captain Regina Lili'i and Leila Bone partnership steadied the runs for a bit until the Lewas struck again. This time 3 more Samoan wickets fell and it was a sinking ship from then on. Soon afterwards, at 9 for 79 in their allotted 20 overs, Samoa bowed out of the first inning. The Lewas were on top of the game with a comfortable 80-run target. A top-order Ruma Jimmy partnership saw an accumulative of 38 runs in 6.3 overs. A little later, Samoa gave PNG some trouble. It picked PNG's 4 wickets consecutively when the Lewas only had 45 runs to the name. Brenda Tau and Pauke Siaka then took the crease, rescuing the Lewas with an accumulative of 45 runs. That partnership remained intact as the Lewas were brought home with a 6-wicket win under 19 overs. For now, the sides have turned to the World Cup, which will be held later this year or early 2018. And the Lewas will once more represent PNG in this world event. Dinero Srako, National EMTV Sports.
To football, Real Madrid has celebrated Cristiano Ronaldo's 400th goal, with the club giving him a shirt marking the event. The club posted a video of Ronaldo and Real Madrid's president Florentino Perez posing with the shirt at the club's training pitch a day after the Portuguese forward scored a hat-trick in the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Ronaldo's 3 goals took his tally for Real Madrid to 399 goals in 389 games, although the forward claims he scored another in 2010 that was officially awarded to defender Pepe. Trukai Sports continues after the break with some updates on rugby league here and abroad. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Tomorrow's Cook Island and PNG Pacific Test match will feature less than 4 players who have seen action in the NRL. but the match will be a hard-fought battle between two teams which will go down to the wire.
Papua New Guinea and Cook Islands have met only once, when the Kumals went on to win 42 points to 14. This will be the second time both countries have met for a test match. PNG will be looking to carry on their shocking 24-22 win over Fiji last year to tomorrow's match.
Their country will be going off, celebrating defeat of Fiji.
The Kumals have stuck with a team consisting largely of players from the Hunters, with just a few players currently at NRL clubs. The Hunters are riding high on the top of the Interest Super Cup ladder with just 2 losses through the first 9 rounds, thanks largely to the creative work of halves Ase and Watson Boas and Huka Wartuvo Puara Jr., who all played integral roles in the win over Fiji. Cook Islands have drawn on players from the NRL, Holden Cup, Interest Super Cup Premiership, Interest Super Cup, Ron Macy Cup, England and France, and while the likes of Dylan Napa and Brad Takarangi from the World Cup campaign aren't available this time, there is no shortage of talent. The names may not be familiar, but there is an abundance of talent in a Cook Islands team that has been pulled from all corners of the rugby league world. Alex Glenn, Jeff Daniela and Sam Mataora all have extensive NRL experience. Although both sides will play with plenty of energy and enthusiasm, the Kumals have the class not only in the halves but out wide to put points on in quick succession. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
International Kieran Foran is set to make his comeback for New Zealand as he pairs up with Sean Johnson in the halves. The former Kiwis captain is shaping up to feature in tonight's Anzac Test against Australia in Canberra.
The only factor, there's little doubt.
Foran helped New Zealand to a third successive win over the Kangaroos in his last test in 2015. Since then, the Kiwis had not won a test match against their trans-Tasman counterparts.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more pressure situations. You're not going to have as much time, so those are all the things we need to take into account.
However, Foran's return to NRL this season from his injury has the Kangaroos on high alert.
It's a pretty complex situation.
Foran won 10 of his 11 matches for the Kiwis and his comeback from a 2-year absence, with his clubmates Roger Tuivasa-Shaq and Simon Mannering from injury, has Kiwis coach David Kidwell confident of an upset.
Yeah, if we get a good win tomorrow night, we'll no doubt enjoy it.
The trio's inclusion is among 8 changes to the Kiwis side that toppled the world #1 Australia 26-6 in the Four Nations final last year.
The man many see as the key to a Kiwis victory.
Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll be back with the weather details after these messages.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, mostly fine. Daru, Kerama, Alota, Popondetta, fine weather over the next 24 hours with a top temperature of 31 degrees. To the Momasa region, mostly fine for Lae, cloudy weather in Wau, fine for Madang, cloudy with some showers expected in Wewak, fine becoming cloudy in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, fine weather in Lorengau, fine becoming cloudy in Kavieng, mostly fine for Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka, top temperatures of 31 degrees. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Amendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect some cloudy weather and some showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, worth doing with Dulux.
And that has been the news, sports and weather for tonight, Friday the 5th of May 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, have a pleasant weekend. Good night.